Amen. All right, how are we doing this morning? All right, yeah. All right, I'm excited about this morning. It's going to be really fun. So this morning, we are, in case you didn't know who I am, my name is Chris Pleckenpole, and I am one of the pastors here on staff at Wells Branch Community Church. And if you're just brand new here and you've not checked in, I just want to let you know we're going through the book of John. And so if you're just tuning in today and you're like, what are we going to be talking about? We've been going through the book of John for about 2 months, right? And we're just going verse by verse the entire book. And if you're brand new to Christianity, or if you're just checking this thing out, kicking the tires a little bit, this is for you. We're going to go right through the basics because we want, whenever somebody becomes a Christian, here's what usually happens. Someone comes up to you and they hand you a Bible and they go, read the book of John. And you're like, what is a book of John? And so I wanted to kind of walk you through this. And so let's say if you've missed you're one of those once a month Christians. I know there's a lot of you here. And you can go back to our website, wellsbranchchurch.com, and you can watch all of the messages on the book of John, because the book of John is about one thing. It's this. Chapter 20, verse 31 of John, it's kind of like the thesis statement. It says that these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. And so that's kind of like the entire premise of chapters 1 through 6, and that's actually where we are right now in chapter 6. And we were talking about this very thing, is that we have an agenda here. I don't know if you guys realize that. We have an actual agenda, and I'm going to, behind the curtain, what do they really want to do? We really believe that human beings are born that way, sinners. We really think that everyone is born a sinner, and we really think that everyone is on this projectile path toward hell. And that's a scary thing. So I'm if that freaks you out, it should. And that God is not only a God of love, he's a God of angry wrath. All right? And he has got this plan to save us from our sins by sending Jesus to the cross. All right? So Jesus goes to the cross to pay the penalty for our sins. And if we believe that, we will have life. And for a lot of you, you're like, it's so exclusive, so judgmental. We're an inclusive people. We're like, no, Jesus died for everybody. Okay? So that's kind of our whole premise here, and we want everybody to get on board with that, and so we have an agenda. That's why we do Halloweeners, for example. How many guys were involved with Halloweeners? Oh yeah, a bunch of you guys. It was awesome, good times. Thank you for rolling hot dogs. We didn't roll hot dogs, and I didn't put my poor next door neighbor, Paul, he's going to be in a wheelchair for, grilling. So we passed out 640 hot dogs at our house. No, 560 hot dogs at our house. Pretty amazing, right? Yeah, you can clap for that. And at Catherine Fleischer Park, I think it was 1,000 hot dogs got passed out, by our youth. So that was pretty amazing. And throughout the neighborhood, we're trying to become friends with you. Why? Because we love you, and we don't want to see your eternal destiny go the wrong way. We want you to be with us forever in heaven. So that's why we make such a big deal about loving you by becoming your friend. And that's why we're going through the book of John, so that you may have life by believing in his name. In fact, this morning, we're going to be talking about this thing of something that we all experience, which is you're in, you constantly and consistently find yourself experience lack. Here's how I know this. And it happens unexpectedly. So last year, about this time, my dad died. It was out of nowhere. I got a phone call from one of my dad's colleagues to say, hey, do you know where your dad is? I'm like, those days of me being checked in on my dad are over, and we haven't gotten quite to the point of me checking in on my dad. There's no reporting system. I'm like, no, haven't heard from him about a week. Well, what's going on? And they're like, well, we can't find him. He was supposed to be in for a business meeting, and he's not here. We want to go search his house. I'm like, that's weird. Okay, here's the garage code. So they go in, they said, sure enough, hey, Chris, we found your dad, and he's dead. And I'm like, wow. And so you don't have time to have emotions at that moment. You just kind of go, Adrian, get Austin in the car. We're driving north to Dallas. And now I'm thinking, I go into problem-solving mode. I got a memorial service to plan. My dad was sort of went to church. And so I'm hoping that the church that I used to go in Dallas would be, in 5 days, could have a memorial service. I have to find my stepmom, who was in Mexico somewhere getting cancer treatment because she couldn't afford it here. And so she went to Tijuana, and so now just getting a phone call through to her is challenging because it's analog world south of the border. And so it was challenging. So we had to, we were trying to figure that out, trying to go through all my dad's stuff, find out where all the stuff is, find out the documents, will, the whole. So it was just the even thought of it. It was overwhelming. I had a lack of resources, time. It was exhausting. And it's not just me. It's not just me. You go through this kind of stuff every day. In fact, a couple here, one of my, friend of ours, Chris and Esther Grisham. Chris works the night shift, and Esther takes care of the two kids, and then works at child care thing over at Hill Country Big Church. And so she has to have a job that can take her kids and her work at the same time, and that worked perfectly. And then all of a sudden, he gets a job switch, and they were just barely, they were making it, but it was challenging, but they were making it. And now his job switched him to day shift, which means he gets the car, which means now we have a new lack for that family. It's exhausting. Okay, how about this? In our marriages, we have marriages here that are going through some hard times, and there is a lack of love, or it seems like there's a lack of life, and there's a lack of everything. Some of you are at a work environment where you constantly are feeling like you have a lack, like there is this boss, and he has no empathy, he doesn't care, and there's just a kind of a lack of care in your life, and you're like, I'm exhausted, I don't know how I'm going to get all this stuff done. And for some of you kids, you're kind of living in a world where you feel a constant lack of love, and you're just like, I'm sitting here kind of looking for some love, and I'm not getting the love, and then there's this kind of hurt and heartache you're kind of running around with. There's a lack there, and you're overwhelmed. And you don't have to be a kid to feel that. You can be 45 years old and sitting there like, God, when are you going to send the one? Like, we feel that. We feel that sense of lack every time we turn around. And this morning, I wanted to see how Jesus, like, just in case you guys were wondering, like, all answers are going to be Jesus, like, especially in the book of John, it's like, spoiler alert, every week. Like, if you're brand new, just be like, he's going to talk about Jesus. So that's kind of where we're going. So I wanted us to be in the book of John. If you don't have a Bible this morning, like, throw your hand in the air, wave it like you care, and a Bible will come to you. If you, like, forgot yours, just use ours today. If you don't have a Bible at all, this is our gift to you. We want everyone to have Bibles. And you can take your name home, take your Bible home, write your name in it, the whole deal. We want everyone here to have a Bible. We believe in it that much. And so I want to set this up for you. We're going to be on page 891, and Jesus it's about the time of the second Passover of, like, Jesus' ministry. So we saw the first Passover a couple weeks ago in John 2, and where Jesus overturned tables in the temple, and it was not a good day for the Jews in Jerusalem. And now this is going to be the second Passover, and Jesus is not in Jerusalem, but he is in the northern region of the Galilee, all right? And he is preaching, and people are following him, and he is like a rock star. I mean, remember the Beatles said, like, the Beatles are now bigger than Jesus? You guys remember that? Probably not, because I'm never born then. But, like, at one point, the Beatles claimed that they were bigger than Jesus. And so Jesus had a following of rock star proportions. And so whenever Jesus shows up, they flock to him. And the reason that they're flocking to him is because this guy is a miracle worker, and he says stuff that would blow people's minds. Like, he's like he was into civil obedience. Like, we had some really cool people like Gandhi into civil disobedience, Martin Luther King, civil disobedience. Jesus was in civil obedience. He would say stuff like, if someone from the government forces you to go 1 mile and carry 100 pounds, be like, hey, I can do 2. Or if they get angry at you and, like, punch you for no reason in the face, be like, how about the other cheek? Got to have it look symmetric. Like that's kind of like what his attitude was when it came to, like, encountering governmental. And so he wasn't like the revolutionary guy that some kind of picture Jesus as. He's like this cultural, like, countercultural icon. He was countercultural because he was, like, into really, really being civilly obedient. It was crazy. All right, so Jesus is going to fire some people up because he's going to do something that kind of makes people irritated. He's going to preach for like 10 hours. In fact, you guys thought my 1 hour of preaching was a lot, but you got to imagine the disciples are like, dude, we've heard that one again. Especially when, I do, like, itinerant preaching. I'll go speak, and sometimes I have, like, the same crew of people would go with me, and then I'd watch in the audience, and they'd be mouthing what I was about to say. It's really irritating, but funny all at the same time. So anyway, so Jesus would do that, and his disciples would go with him wherever he went. And so he's going to be at this place. We're about to talk about the feeding of the 5,000. You guys ever heard of the feeding of the 5,000? It's pretty popular in that it's in all 4 of the Gospels. So Matthew is a Gospel, Mark is a Gospel, Luke is a Gospel, and John is a Gospel. And so this one story is the only miracle story that shows up in all 4 of these books, other than Jesus going, hey, watch this. I'm going to die and then come back from the dead. Boom. And he does it. Those are the 2 miracles. This one and Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection. All right, so we're going to be in John chapter 6, page 891. And so this is Jesus. He's got this crowd of about 20 to 25,000 people. It's unbelievable. And they're all expectantly waiting for Jesus to do something awesome, because that's what he does. He is awesome. All right, John 6, verse 1. After this, Jesus went away to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. Kind of a little renaming thing going on. And a large crowd was following him because they saw the signs that he was doing on the sick. And so here's what people usually say, like people that like aren't into Jesus or skeptics. They would say, all right. Jesus really didn't do miracles. He simply they come up with it's a story or here's the problem. There's nobody that in this time or in this day is disputing the miracles. Nobody's doing that. No one's like, that was a fake. And the reason why is it happened all over the place to so many people. So what people would say is that, all right, I'll give you the miracle, but it's Satan. He's the one behind these miracles. I mean, that's kind of that's how you'd have to take it. So large crowds follows him because they saw the signs that he was doing. And Jesus went up on the mountain, and there he sat down with his disciples. So and during this time, we're finding out from the other Gospels to tell the same story. He's preaching, and he's preaching, and he's preaching, and he's preaching, and he's taking a 10-minute rest break. And so they all sit down. Now the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was at hand. The Passover, remember Moses, let my people go. No, angel comes by, death angel, kills off the firstborn kids who don't put the blood of the lamb outside the lamp, or outside the house and the doorpost. Okay, that whole story. They celebrate that they were saved. And so this is that time. And so and I'm going to cut to Luke for a second. Is that okay? Don't turn your Bibles. I'm going to put this up here. And it's the day's drawn to close. Jesus has been preaching all day long, 10 hours. The disciples have heard this one, they're good on this lesson. And they come to Jesus, all 12 of them, because whenever you got to convince Jesus of something, that's when you take all the whole crew. It's not like just one guy goes up to him. It's like, all right, let's go up and tell Jesus it's time to send everybody home, and he'll have to listen because it's all of us. So the whole 12 come up to Jesus, and they're like, Jesus, we've been thinking. It's late, and we've really been enjoying this past 10 hours of your preaching. And we could go all night. But we're just thinking about all these people here, and they're going to get hungry. And so let's send the crowd away so they can go into surrounding villages and countryside and find lodging and food, because we are in an isolated place. And I love this response that Jesus gives. Now, this is what makes Jesus awesome, because he takes every moment as a teaching lesson. He's like, you guys know those people who make every thing that happens in life like a teaching moment? It's like Dad is always there. You guys know who that guy is? All right. So here's Jesus. He goes, lifting up his eyes then, and seeing that there's a large crowd, he's like, man, I love your compassion for these people. You can kind of sense it. It's like, they're all coming towards him. Jesus said to Philip, you know what? Where are we to buy bread, Philip? You know the area. So that these people may eat. He said this to test them, for he himself knew what he would do. I love Jesus does this. He flips it right back on him. He's like, yeah, it's a lot of compassion and care for these people. You don't want them to go hungry. I totally love that about you guys. So feed them. You see, Jesus tested his disciples' faith with what appeared to be a lack of provision. He throws a pop quiz on them. All right, how many of you guys just hated pop quizzes in high school? Currently hate them. All right, yeah. So here's the thing about pop quizzes. You don't get to plan for them. And I was a fan of studying. All right, do you know what I mean by studying? And here's what I mean by studying. I would convince everybody else not to study, because when I knew there was a test or I knew we were going to have a quiz, I knew that would be a graded event. It was a chance for me to do better than everybody else. So here's how it would go. Hey, Mike, are you studying for this test? Yeah, man. I got word really easy. Don't study. In fact, we should all not study, and then what could happen, we'd have a curve thing, and we'd be no work. All right, so don't study. And then I'd call up Andy. Hey, Andy, I know you think we probably should study. Don't study. And you know what I would do? study like crazy. I'm like, come on, I'll be up all night. I'm going to hit this thing, I'm going to nail it out of the park. And then like next morning, like, and then of course I'd have to do that. You guys study? No. Well, I decided to study. Like, what? You study? I'm like, yeah, I just really felt an urge. Like, why'd you say not to? I'm like, well, everyone's got to make a decision for themselves. And I nail that test. And then I do this one. I was that kid in class. Hey, what'd you get? Oh, 76. Well, ask me. 100! I would do it every time. I just couldn't wait till grades come out. So when there was a pop quiz, all right, now I wasn't following Jesus then. Don't judge, all right? All right, so when there was a pop quiz, I would be like angry because I didn't do pop quizzes, all right? I would be like, and I was the guy that sat front row and always had like a secret conversation with the teacher as she was trying to teach, and like, I was that guy. All right, and so then I'd be like, we can't have a pop quiz. Because let me tell you, that really will destroy the educational value of us preparing and studying. And so I don't think this educational model that you're using right now is the best one for the advancement of our lifelong education. And sometimes it would work, and I'd be like, yes! And I didn't do pop quizzes. And so that's what the disciples here are with Jesus. Jesus is about to throw a pop quiz on everybody, and they're like feeling the weight of it, like, oh, no. Don't ever tell Jesus to send people away. I got it. And they want to please Jesus. They're like Jesus' biggest fans. They give it their whole lives for him. They've been following Jesus around. They're watching him do these miraculous signs. They're getting to do some miraculous signs. It's pretty great. But they get tired. They get exhausted. They're like, okay, we're done. Like, nope, everyone looks kind of hungry. Like, you preached, this has been a great preaching time, but it's time. We need a break. And so Jesus throws it back on them. Hey, can you guys feed these people? And listen to the response. This is why I love, because this would be like me. And Philip responds to Jesus with, all 12 of them are sitting there, and he's like, Jesus, 200 denarii. And if you don't know denarii is like a day's wage. So think about like what you get for one day's pay, and then like let's just say you make 50 grand a year. This is like 30 grand. All right, so like take that 30 grand is how much they have here, 200 denarii. So 30 grand would be enough to feed all these people. That might have been all they had in their hey, how much you got in the treasury little bag over there, Judas? 200 denarii. That's not even going to feed all these people. There's 25,000 of them out here. 200 denarii worth of bread would not be enough for even each of them to get a little. Okay, and then Jesus had said, all right, fine. Go see what you guys have. And there's other gospels tell us. See what the people have. And so Andrew, who's Simon Peter's brother, he said to him, hey, there's a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what are they to so many? And, I can imagine this kid. He's like, he might have been overhearing because he got close enough to Jesus because he's a big fan. And he's got his like little Lunchable with him. A barley loaf is like what poor people use for bread. Like, in fact, I made a little phone call, or actually I had Adrian make the phone call because I hate ordering pizza, all right? So anyway. So Adrian made a phone call to Sprouts, Natural Grocers, and like Whole Foods, and be like, hey, do you guys have barley? Because we thought that'd be like really healthy. Apparently it's not because they don't sell it. All right, so it's like barley is good for one thing, and that's beer. All right, so like he's like, barley loaves. He comes up for the barley loaves, and like the little kid's like, hey, here's what I got. And Andrew's like, listen, kid, that's all right, fine. Jesus, this is all we got. We got a Lunchable here. We got 25,000 people. What are you going to do with a Lunchable? You see, here's what happened. The disciples focused on their lack of funds and food. They looked at what was apparently a very pragmatic exercise of like, we ain't got enough money, and we ain't got enough food. So how in the world do you expect us to feed them? There's 25,000 people here. Now, I'm a fairly pragmatic guy, all right? So here's how it works in our family. When we want to go buy a car, Adrian and I look at our bank account number. And then we go look at cars number. If the car is less than the amount that we have in our bank account, then we say that's on one of the things that we can buy. Now, for some of us, we don't do that. We go into debt, and that's a whole other sermon for a whole other time. Another story. All right. But what we do is we take a look at what we have, and then we buy based on what we have, not based on what we don't have. All right, that's a fairly great principle to live by. In fact, listen, this is something we do not only with like buying stuff. We do this with people. This is how we do it. we focus on the lack of love that our wife gives us or our husband gives us. Like, if he would just love me or show some passion in his marriage, not just be staring at his phone on fantasy football or email all day, then maybe that I would have some sort of relationship around here and there wouldn't be a lack of love, right? I'm just saying. Stepping on toes now. Or how about this? And like, if I didn't have a lack of respect, if she just respected me, then maybe we'd have some sort of functional relationship. We get to talk about something, get something done around here. And that's how that rolls. Or how about at the office or at work? You're like, if I didn't, he gives me not enough resources, he expects me to do all this work, it's impossible, and then the kind of anger and resentment build up towards all these different people, and you're already angry, nothing's even happened yet. In fact, a lot of you walk around angry, and that's why you're road rage in the car, because your emotional cup is already full, and you're just like, we're going to kill somebody, like, oh yeah? Just give me that look, I'll come back, I'll come up to your window, and I'll give you a piece of my mind. I wouldn't know anything about that, but so that's what we do. We naturally look for the lack of whatever it is that we're wanting. We look at it in all these different people, and then we look at our lack of talent, look at our lack of appearance. We get on Facebook, and we're like, well, their nursery is better than my nursery, or like we look at our lack of our house, and we're like, that person's house is better than my house, and how come they got this stuff, and how come I had to give away this stuff? How come you made me throw away this stuff? I mean, now we have a lack of stuff. All those are real conversations. All right, so like you kind of look at, we just focus on our lack of funds and food. That's what we do. We're just natural lack lookers. And here's this boy. I want you to take a look at this boy, because I think sometimes this boy gets kind of forgotten in the story. See, this boy comes to Jesus with his lack. He is less impressed with the crowds, but he's more impressed what he can do with Jesus. I want you to think about that. Like, because it's a Lunchable. What can a Lunchable do for 25,000 people? It's not like these fish are like huge fish. They're like more like relish that kind of go, it's like squish some of the guts out onto the little cracker. And tasty. It's like relish. That's what we're talking about here. This isn't like like a nice bass that, like, all right, here we go. And so this kid, but he doesn't see his lack. He sees what he can bring to Jesus. That's why I love this, because this is where we need to be. Because so many times we look at all the stuff we can't do and look at all the need out there and be like, well, I'm not going to do anything. What good is it going to do? And that's where I feel like this kid becomes Jesus's like poster child for faith. How many times have you read the Bible or read Scripture and just you go to the place where Jesus is like, unless you have faith like this little child, you will not enter the kingdom of God. He says all the time. What does that even mean? It means this kid looks at Jesus and that's all he sees. He doesn't see his sin. He doesn't see the other people. He just sees how great Jesus is, and he can do anything. Because here's the problem we have. Look, let's just be real. We look at our impossible and we're like, it's impossible. And it's true. With man, things are impossible. But with God, all things are possible. That's why we pray for cancer to be healed. Like we do it all the time. That's why, in fact, tomorrow night is going to be First Monday prayer. When you have sickness, disease, and issues, we're going to be praying over you. We're going to have the elders. We're going to, anoint you with oil, pray for you, the whole bit. Because we believe that God answers prayer. But the problem is, here's the problem. We don't show up for prayer. Why? Well, it's not going to do anything anyway. That's why. And so if you're wondering why your faith is still at the level it was when you're in Sunday school and you're like, I outgrew that, that's because you haven't exercised it. That's because your faith is still, Sunday school faith. Or maybe you got saved at one point and you're like, well, I checked that off the box. No, this thing of living in Christ is a constant putting your trust in Jesus, which is why you have constant trials and struggles. That's why you haven't arrived. Have you noticed that? Like when you came to Jesus and he saved you, you had more stuff go wrong. It's weird. How did that happen? I thought once I come to Jesus, then I'm supposed to get the Bentley. And how many of you are rolling large? That's right. That's what I'm saying. All right, so we're still struggling. Why? Because here's the problem. We've gotten to this place where we look at all the crowds, we say it's not even worth trying, so we don't, and so our faith never gets exercised, and that's why Jesus had to constantly test the disciples' faith, because they put the weight of this need on them, say, figure it out. And so here's the lesson. Watch what happens. This little boy brings his lack. This is cool. And Jesus said, have the people sit down. Now, I want you to imagine this. So Jesus, with the disciples, the 12 are there. He takes the Lunchable and says, hey, get all the people to sit down. 25,000 people. Tell them all to sit down in groups of 50. We found out from the other Gospels. So I want you to think about, any of you guys are teachers or deal with kids, children. Think about getting anybody to do anything. Like, okay, 25,000. Hey, you in the back there, we're breaking into 50s. I'm hungry. Shut up. Sit down on the group of 50, right? I mean, like, that's kind of how this thing, you kind of sense that people are, like, getting irritated, like, why are we sitting down? We better be getting some food here. Hey, I'm hungry. Hey, it's coming, all right? So, like, now the disciples have got to go through this exercise of getting all these people to sit down in groups of 50s. I mean, you want to talk, like, we read this story, like, oh, Jesus had them sit down. It's like, on the PA system. Hey, can I have everybody sit down in groups of 50s? No PA. The disciples are trying to go through the mass of humanity, getting everybody to sit down in 50s. All right. Now, there was much grass in the place, which this is why you know the Bible's true, a relevant detail. Why would John include that? Oh, they had a comfy place to sit. Thank you, John. No, the reason why that's in there is because that's how real it was. Because John is going back. He's like, wow, I got a great seat that day because it was just nice and comfy grass. Like when you tell a story, when you write a letter, you put in weird details that don't matter, that don't forward the story. That's why you know the Bible's true. It's because, why would you? Now there was much grass in the place. So the men sat down, about 5,000 in number. All right, this is why I'm saying it's 25,000, because Matthew tells us it was 5,000, not including 5,000 men, not including women and children. And in this day, like you got married at like 15, right? I mean, it's like, and you're marrying her, and ooh, sorry, it didn't work out for you well, but that's who you're marrying. And you just sucked it up, and that's who you married. And then here's this thing called no birth control. Some of you guys have been trying that method, and that's why we have a full nursery. All right. And just saying. All right, so what happens is like people are reproducing, and there's a lot of more kids, and there's a whole bunch of families out there. And so now we've got 25,000. That's how you go from 5,000 men to 25,000. All right. So Jesus then took the loaves. All right, so what he's going to do is he gives thanks. In front, everyone's looking at Jesus. He's standing on top of the mountain. Groups of 50 looking at Jesus. He takes his Lunchable, breaks one of the crackers, and he gives thanks to God. Thank you, Jesus, for this, or thank you, God, for this Lunchable. Now, what does he do? This is what's funny. And when he'd given thanks, he distributed them to those who were seated. Now, the other Gospels fill us in the details here. It says he handed it to the disciples to give it out. I want you to think about this. So they each get like a half of a biscuit and like a piece of the gizzard of the fish or whatever. And they roll with it. It's like Thanksgiving time. Go with me. Right. And so they come, right, and they're like, all right, here's your meal. Don't take too much. Hold on. That's the next. All right, so here's what's going on. Now, in the Old Testament, there's a story where one of the prophets has this piece of bread and it just grows in his hand like to monster size. And so here's what the disciples have to do. This is why it's a test for the disciples. They have to take the lack that Jesus just broke in half and blessed. Jesus blessed it. And they have got to make this really awkward appearance in front of these groups of 50 and be like, this should last. And they keep going around, and all of a sudden it keeps going, it keeps growing, it keeps growing, it keeps growing their hand. They're like, oh my gosh, this is pretty great. And they end up feeding 25,000 people out of this kid's Lunchable. In fact, Jesus then took the loaves, and when he gave thanks, he distributed those who were seated. So also the fish, as much as they wanted. And when each had eaten their fill, I mean, when we talk about eating their fill, that's where you sit back and you're like, oh, I need to unbutton my belt. We're cool with that. We're just gonna like hang out here for a while. I just can't. The belt's too much. I need to go change pants. Like that's kind of how. That's eating their fill. You guys have been there. Thanksgiving gets kind of rough. All right. It's like that's where you like. Never mind. I won't go there. So he told his disciples, gather up the leftover fragments that nothing may be lost. So all these people are just like stuffed. I mean, this is like borderline gluttony going on. And here is the issue. They got leftovers, and so they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with fragments from the 5 barley loaves left by those who had eaten. See, Jesus turned lack into leftovers. He does this. He takes your situation, whatever your situation is, and when you give it to him, he takes what seems to be impossible, he makes it possible. So let's just go back to my dad, right? On the way up there, I'm like, oh my gosh, where am I going to go? I went to the church that I went to in Dallas when my dad had passed away, and they're like, I'm sorry, we can't, that's going to cost you like a gajillion dollars to reserve this one space. I was like, all right, thanks. And then I went and I go up to the church that my dad had attended like maybe twice, and I'm like, hey, my dad went here a couple times, and can we do the memorial service here? And they're like, yes, you can. In fact, why don't you take this really great room? And they set it up, and I'm like, and they videoed the thing and sent us like a DVD of it later. A random person came by and they catered the whole thing. I think my dad had met them once. They were like a neighbor on the street, and they're like, it was an amazing spread, right? I was like, wow. And then just thing after thing after thing seemed to work itself out. It was an incredible service. In fact, several of you guys came, and I really appreciate that. That was awesome. It was a very powerful moment to see God take lack into leftovers. I don't know who we gave all the food that we had left over to. We had food left over from nothing. And here's the thing that was neat about this. Let's just talk about this boy for a second. Who gets the leftovers? Is it the little boy? No. Because wouldn't that make sense? That's what our culture teaches us, right? Our culture says this. When you, or at least some of our culture, when you give to God, you should be expecting to get the leftovers. You know what the little kid gets? He gets Jesus. He gets to watch Jesus move and act. He gets to interact with Jesus, and his soul gets something far greater than a doggy bag. Because you know what we focus on? Because remember, we focus on the lack. We focus on the doggy bag. And this little boy doesn't get a doggy bag. You know, who gets the doggy bag? The disciples, the guys that showed up with no faith. These are the guys who are going like, hey, send them away. Jesus, I'm tired. Get rid of these guys. You feed them. Like, we don't have enough money to feed them. All we got is this one kid's Lunchable, and I had to kind of pry it from his hands. Like, these are the guys that get the leftovers. These guys go home with a doggy bag. And that little boy, who's probably 5 or 6 years old, he gets Jesus. And it's more than enough. You see, that is the beauty of this story. Because I think there's a lot of us here that when we do the giving thing, we're like, where's mine? When's that rent coming through? When's that new car coming? Do your thing, Jesus. And Jesus doesn't do that. He turns lack into leftovers, and this kid sees none of it. Now, the disciples get a lesson. Remember, the whole point was to test the disciples' faith. I think we sometimes forget this story. Remember, the whole premise of the book is that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. And the disciples are constantly in school, and this was a specific test for them to take their lack to Jesus, because Jesus was in fact, this is what Philip should have said. Jesus, you're the Son of God, do your thing. That was the answer. That was the answer. Instead, they focused on their lack of stuff. And then Jesus has them take a doggy bag home to remind them that the next day that they don't have to worry about anything because God takes care of his own. I don't know what happened to that little boy. We don't even find out the rest of that story. He is erased from the history books as far as we know, but I do know this about him. Like a child, he was just content to get his fill. He was so excited about Jesus, and he witnessed a miracle, and probably for the rest of his life told stories about that day. Now watch this last piece. This is why this might, ruin somebody's kind of view of like church and stuff, but here we go. When the people saw the sign that he had done, they said, "This is indeed the prophet who is coming to the world." What prophet are we talking about? This is from Deuteronomy 18. All right, the prophet who is to come to the world. This is Moses wrote this, and he wrote, "The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me, like Moses, from among you, from your brothers. It is to him you shall listen." And then there's like a couple verses later, it's God speaking. "I, God, will raise up from them a prophet like you, Moses, from among their brothers, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak them to all that I command him. And whoever will not listen to my words that he shall speak in my name, I myself will require of him." They're like, that's the guy. This is the prophet. And what do they want to do with the prophet? They want to control the prophet. And so they want to make him king. Let's make this dude king, because you know what? I get some leftovers. Like his followers, the guys that his inner 12. You see the doggy bags? I want my doggy bag. So perceiving then that they're about to come and take him by force to make him king, Jesus withdrew again to the mountain by himself. He's like, I'm not having it. I know what you guys want. You guys want the leftovers. You want more leftovers for you. Here's what he could have done. Here's what Jesus could have done. I mean, Jesus had power to make bread. Turn Israel into the breadbasket of the world. He could, outsource bread all over all the arid and dark places and charge a really awesome fee. Disciples could set up distribution centers all over the place, and they would just be bread kings. They call it the bread king. And then they'd go into branding exercise. They'd do some awesome marketing. They would be on top of the world. But Jesus isn't about stuff. Jesus never intended to create an earthly kingdom with funds and food, which could be disappointing for some of you. You're like, where is mine? I ain't got mine. Where's my car? Where's my things? Jesus isn't interested in that. You know why? Here's what happened. These people, and Jesus will say this in the up-and-coming verse, he says, you only come to me because you got fed. Your tummies are full, not because your spiritual hunger has been met. Because here's the problem. They might have stuffed themselves to the gut, and they're full, but there's a hole still in their soul. There's a hole there, gaping wide. There's a gaping wide hole. They're full, which means you could have the awesomest house. You could have the awesomest car, and there could still be this gaping hole in your soul. And we have this culture that kind of keeps telling us, you got to get more, you got to get more, you got to get more. That's God's blessing when you get more, when you get more. That's not it. You're going to still have a hole in your soul. You're still going to have a screwed up life. Unless you let Jesus be the answer and not the stuff. Stuff's not evil. Listen, some of you guys, this is kind of how you handle your money. For some of you, when you take a payday loan out to get the next Xbox, all right? That's kind of how you roll. You're like, I need another Xbox, I got to play it, and you're a fiend for the video games. Others of you have got like savings like up till you're 130 because this is your real fear. What if I outlive my money? And what your trust is in money and not Jesus, okay? And that's where we go with both these things. There's like two extremes we can take that. And God wants us to see that he is the answer and our soul's security. So listen to me this morning. I want you to let Jesus turn your lack into leftovers. What do you mean by that? All right, we have real needs here. On your, pull these bulletin thingies out. I just ripped my little prayer request piece off. You should have prayer requests, right? Tomorrow is our First Monday prayer, and I want to see everybody there for First Monday prayer. So write your prayer here. Put it in the giving box in the back. And we're going to pray for you individually, out loud, at prayer. That's what we do. If there is some of you who are sick, we're going to have the elders there to pray over you. We believe in the power of prayer. We believe miracles can happen. And so I want you guys to write your prayer requests. I want you to be doing that right now as I'm talking. All right, the second thing is, I want you to see this lack into leftovers piece right here, the other part that you're going to keep. In 2 weeks, we're going to have our Thanksgiving back. Now, Thanksgiving back is where we give back to God, the Savior. Not so that we can see like an awesome display of God, giving out free stuffs and handing out free stuff to the community, although we do that. We have $30,000 in the budget to give away to people that are in need. That's how we roll, okay? But the point of this is that's 5% of our whole budget. What we do here is we reach people to life-changing around Jesus Christ. And so what I'm wanting you guys to do is to ask God, how much do you want us to give over and above what I already give? I want him to turn your lack, because you're going to be like, all I got's Lunchable. Put your Lunchable in the giving box. Be a little bit weird to clean up, and I'm sure all our counters wouldn't be exactly thrilled about it, but put it in there. Let him turn your lack into leftovers. Now, and here's what I mean by that. Don't expect to kind of see, like, I want to just give to where, like, I can see it going to the benevolence fund, and we're just going to give all that money away. We've already done that for you. I want this to be a heart issue. I want this to be a heart issue where you're going to go, how much do I want to show Jesus I love him? And it's not about what I can see. It's about my trust in him. Remember how I told you that story that we had a person here, Esther, who was experiencing trouble with the job situation. Her husband worked nights, she worked days, and it kind of worked out because of the kids and all that. And then he just got his job shifted to Monday, and so now he's going to have to take the car, and now they're kind of out of a car, and that's kind of an issue. Well, this morning during first service, we had a cool thing happen. And Esther was here. And we're going to show you real quick what happened. Panic attack, freak out, that's okay. Okay, come on, here, I'll even help you out. This is going to be awkward, I know. There we go. All right, so this is Esther. And she has no idea what I'm about to do right now, so this makes it even better. You don't have to talk. There's no talking. You don't have the microphone. You're golden. All right, so in the story I told earlier about a family that has now 2 jobs that are in the same time and 1 car and makes it impossible, that's Esther. Sorry for telling that, but yep. And we had a young adult who said, hey, listen, I don't want anyone to really know about this, but I want to give my car away. He's not here today, so you can't thank him. He's moving. He doesn't get the leftovers. He doesn't even get to see it. He might record it, so we'll let him know. But he said, I want someone to have this car. And then a community group came together and said, well, if you get a car, how are you going to get insurance? Like, how's that going to work? And so one of the community groups here that you won't know who they are, they paid for your insurance for a year. So, in fact, right now, if you want to look over to the left, we have somebody's lack. That's going to be your provision. Now, it's a 99 Pathfinder. This isn't like a Bentley, right? But it works and it drives. Woo! And there's no one to say thank you to other than Jesus. And so right now the keys are in it. If you want to go check it out, I want you to go over there and kind of have a moment in your car. That's your car. And tomorrow we're going to do the title and turn over your name. And I'm so excited. I just want to give you a big hug. Thank you, Esther. Yeah, that's it. You can now go out to the car. And I want you to sit in it. You can even turn it on. And really, I want you to bring your lap. I want you to bring some stuff you're like, I don't know. I'm really thinking this might be life-saving. But I want you, because what this church does, listen, this is happening. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to take, with that sort of mindset, you're not going to get any credit for it. There's no tax write-off involved. 0. The insurance money wasn't like donated to the church and then it was just given straight to her. Church had nothing to do with it, other than be like, hey, I know these people believe in the same thing, Jesus. And so we want you to kind of take that attitude to our Thanksgiving back. 1, I want you to get with your spouse or just your bank account, and I want you to think about and pray about God turning your lack into leftovers. Some of you are going to go back there and help us with the potluck because we're all kind of bringing our Lunchable to the elementary school. Wells Branch Elementary is where we're going to have that Thanksgiving back luncheon, 1 o'clock on November 16th, 2 weeks from now. And we're going to watch what God does when he turns our lack into leftovers, when he takes just what would seemingly be insignificant and gives somebody for life provision in this life physically, but then ultimately we get to see what happens when spiritually we watch God work. Isn't that amazing? That's what you came to sign up for church today, right? You're like, I want to see God do something. Go give Jesus your lack. Let him turn into leftovers. Would you pray with me? Father, I love watching what you do. I love constantly watching your power and your grace and the amazing things that you continually do as you show up and you show off and you consistently move us. We get to give a person a car. That's exciting. Thank you, Jesus, for that. But more importantly, God, we got to watch somebody be amazed and blown away and turn into a puddle of tears because you're that good. You're the God that meets physical needs. But more importantly, you're a God that meets our spiritual needs. And we thank you. We were on this projectile path toward hell. And you saved us. You came. You died on that cross. And you took our sins. And you gave us righteousness that we don't deserve so that we can be free from shame, free from guilt, free from the darkness, and free to love you, free to worship you, free to walk in your truth. Thank you, Jesus. That although we were born that way as sinners, you could take us from the darkness and make us light. Thank you, Jesus. We've seen you do too much. Over and over again, you do it all. So God, this morning, would there be somebody here who's like, I don't know about this Jesus stuff. All right, I'll give away somebody a car, but Lord, would you penetrate that heart? Would you just kind of blossom something in their soul that says, well, maybe there is something more to this, that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing I can have life. God, would you give them life? And Lord, for those of us that have grown weary, we've grown tired, we've grown broken because life has become hard, would you give us the courage to take our lack and give it to you so there might be leftovers for the kingdom? We may not see a dime of the leftovers, but we get the ultimate gift of your Son, Jesus. Thank you. Would you reinvigorate our hearts for what it means to be saved from darkness and walk us into your marvelous light? Lord, we worship you, and we reflect on that as we sing. In Jesus' name. Imagine what would happen if you took your lack, you gave it to Jesus, and he turned it into leftovers. Imagine what would happen in like that kind of culture at this church. Not where you're looking like, where's my doggy bag? We're looking at it, Jesus, I got you, and you're all I need. He saved you from the darkness. He saved you from the hole in your soul and gave you brand new life. Imagine what would happen to other people if you fully embraced that and really trusted him with your lack and with your everything. Change the world. Would you receive the benediction? Go and be a people who are not tightwads. Be a people who are generous. Be a people who are looking to give, looking for ways to show off how lack can be turned into leftovers. Look at what you have and look at how big Jesus is and what he can do with your lack. Go and push back darkness with the way that you handle your stuff. Go and push back darkness with the way you look at other people and you see Jesus in others and not their lack of stuff or lack of compassion or lack of love or respect. Go and have an awesome week of worship.
I don't even, that's just like crazy.
Yeah, that is totally crazy.
Who does stuff like that? It's just so nice. It's just so nice. I just feel like, I don't feel like I deserve that. At all.
You don't.
No, I don't.
None of us do.
I don't know. Thank
It's the
you,
free
whoever
gift.
did that. I'm utterly shocked, and I'm very blessed, and I don't feel like I deserve it, like, at all, actually. I think that, I don't know. Thank you, whoever did this. I thank you so much, and I think, I actually keep on thinking this is a really good example to my husband, like, he doesn't go here, but, how can he deny, like, that we're taken care of? Like, I just, thank you. I don't know.